Those who are watching at home, I'm just letting you know that this is Coffee with Robin, so it is a more informal group. So for this, I'm going to kind of make a more intimate surrounding and be closer. You don't have to, but it really changes the type of meeting that we have. And this is what it's meant to be. This is. Oh my God, Ellen, you're so funny. Okay, we gotta let. Well, for the recording, I will. Okay. Chris, do you want to join us? You're good? Do you even want to move up halfway? Are you good? Do you want to come? It will be a no bite meeting. Are you comfortable where you are? Okay. All right. The reason I say it's a no bite meeting. So what I may do so that we don't have to have the mic. What I will do, because we are being taped. You won't be seen unless you want to come sit right next to me. It will be on 95. Yes. However, what I'll do, because it is 95, I'm just going to repeat your comments, right? We are on 95 now. That's correct. Thank you. So I'm just explaining to our viewers how this meeting is different than Ask the Director. And this is an opportunity just for us to be interactive, share thoughts and ideas, to talk about anything we really want to. And I do have the list of things that we talked during our last meeting, because it's important when we are talking about different things that there's follow-up, right, on the things that we can do. And some of the things that I certainly find is, and you know this, the best ideas come from everybody here, because this is your home. You know exactly what things are that work for you, that might work for others, for things that we aren't doing that maybe we can. We've seen really great things be put in place by other residents that are sitting right here. That has been really great. So I'm happy for that. And one of the things I want to talk about before we all start talking, so I don't dominate, because then I'm not doing the right thing. Yeah, that's a Coffee with Robin. Robin talks and talks and talks, right, Sally? I'm going to give a plug. And the plug is this, that we have so many great ideas and interests from so many residents. We have, we're at about 88% occupied. So that equals to several hundred people living here in independent living, right? So when you have several hundred people living, you know that there are a lot of different interests and ideas that are wonderful to do and put in place. And I think, and I'm asking for, a shift in thinking that may have been here in the past prior to COVID and just want to kind of fuel the flames to get back to. And that is, when you have an interest or an idea, given the size of our community, there's very likely to be other people who share it. And even though there might be disappointment on how many people are using, I always call it wrong, it's not a blog, a forum. Thank you, your forum. So this is what was put together. The amount of people that are participating, if you think about it, is pretty amazing. You may want it higher, but well, yeah, I do think there are benefits there. Yeah, there are. And so the point of that is, like we have Women to Women, like we have a book club, like we have some other resident-driven groups. I'm just encouraging that when you have an interest and idea, know that there are other residents here that share it. And whether it's 3, 5, 10, 12, that's wonderful. And that really helps bring life and activity and fun and interest and using, all the skills and talents and knowledge that you have. It's sharing our gifts, and that comes from all of us. I'm going to wrap up so I don't talk too much, Chris. Yeah. So I'm just encouraging all residents that are here. If you want to teach Italian, do it. If you want a comedy club, let's put it together. Any ideas that you have? We've seen the dancing and the tap dancing. And it doesn't matter how many people attend, there's joy. There's joy for everybody that's there. From the residents that's teaching to the people that are participating. So that's my plug. Ellen is here to do certain things, scheduled events and things like that. But she's not here to do everything. And the rest of it comes from all of us here with tremendous talent. So that's my plug. She'll help find a room, work with you to schedule a time, get a flyer out, and set you off. And it'll be really exciting. So I'll stop talking now. Yes, your comment. I'll report it. I'll repeat it. Yes, so the comment was that the timing of this meeting from 11 to 12 may not be great because people are getting their lunch. So lunch starts at 11:30? 11:30. I understand, but we don't want to interfere with fitness. Okay. So, understood. But just to understand, we don't deliver lunch. We only deliver dinner. Okay. So, you know what? Thank you for that feedback. Ah. No, it's okay. Okay. So here's a suggestion. Anybody here interested in ice cream? There might be one or two takers, but the suggestion was putting together an ice cream bar or something. And those are fun things to do. No. After. One of the things we do with our staff once a month is we go around with ice cream for everybody. And, and we talked about doing things for our residents too with ice cream. But tell me your ideas on what you'd like to talk about today.
It was so fantastic when the Pilsners came to trivia and did popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did popcorn out here before some event out here. And they had the huge popcorn machine that we obviously own.
We do.
I understand it is a...
You can say a bad word.
Bitch to clean up.
She said it was very difficult to clean up. Yeah, that's wonderful.
But I think we should do that more often. Why? It's it was so nice of the post. I think in the moral,
yeah,
and Carol Alkus and Lou and Carol Posner.
yeah.
And I thought it was so unusual. It's the first thing I'd seen around here that really was giving to the residents, and they didn't even sit with us and enjoy it.
So that's a perfect example, Sally, of something that was resident, right, and sharing our gifts. Because look at how many people took enjoyment from it. So if somebody wants to do popcorn again, we've got the machine, the kernels will help you learn how to do it. But that's the kind of thing that a resident has done that does give to others. I love the example. It was so nice.
All right.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ross.
All right. I would like clarification of picking up the food in terms of I only do it maybe once or twice a day. It isn't clear from the people who are standing behind to let you in. Can you go at another time other than the designated time for your building?
Yes. And
Oh,
I
there's
saw a
confusion
ticket.
Because
I know.
I heard that one, resident yelled at another resident, "You don't belong here," and you're getting a lot of that.
Okay.
So it needs to be written up if it is appropriate to go at any time. Not everybody can go. I think it needs reinforcement, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
People don't read. We know that.
but they can still get from the dining. Yes, they can.
Sally.
So here's the thing.
Well, I just want to say this.
Oh, please.
Sally, my building is 4 to 4:30. But if I want to go at 3, I should be allowed to go at 3.
You are. You can, but you have to do the
I'm
cutoff.
talking about going earlier if I want. You All right. It's not clear.
So here's the thing. As we have this discussion, we can hear the different thoughts about it. So to Roz's point, we need to make it clearer for everyone.
Just back to Sally. Is this on? No, it's not on.
It is.
Is it on? Okay. What you said about it changing over at 4:30, if you look at the pad where the slips are for dinner, the second slip in day glow yellow, where people can't possibly miss it, explains that. Because I had sent Darren an email about it, making it very clear that people didn't seem to understand it. And about 2 days later, he said, "Thank you, you're right." And then a couple days later, he put it, as I say, in day glow yellow, an explanation on the pad about that. So,
Well, you know what? Well, here's the thing. Whenever we have a change, the more we repeat it and educate it, the more it helps. Because some people read it, some people won't. Some people might see a slide on channel 95. Some people might look at the journal where there's information. There's so many ways to take in information, and we can do all that, and we'll still have some residents who won't take advantage of how we get information out. However, we need to make sure we do it in multiple places because it's a change to make sure it's really clear. So on the tickets, wonderful. And he heard your feedback and he made the changes. And that's why these types of meetings, and when you talk one-on-one with any of us, have so many advantages. But we can put it out again in different ways. So we will. So thank you. Yes.
I have something totally different.
Right.
It's kind of a beef with the residents that live here. I sent out an email.
Bring it closer.
I'm sorry. Is
That's
that better?
okay. Yeah, you have to have it right.
Sorry. Last week and the week before, carrying in, I guess, from the end of August into the first week of September, I went down to my spot, my parking spot, and there was somebody parked in my parking spot, and they didn't move. And until I went and I got the license plate, and I gave it to, I forget if I gave it to Susan, but I spoke to Marty about it. And
Bring your mic closer.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Anyway, 6 days not being able to get into my spot was really annoying,
Yes.
and I had a trouble with walking, and my feet were very swollen. So I parked in the handicap
For those 6 days.
until I
Yeah.
could,
No,
I
no.
could-
I'm just clarifying. This was the domino effect.
Well, I did move it, and I moved to guest parking when I had packages because my building is closest there. But after we finally got them to move, and it was a resident, who should have known better.
Yes.
The person who's to the left of me, and I know who it is, doesn't matter who, is the very first spot that's closest to the A building. Great spot. I'm the second spot. Great spot. And the handicap spot is to the left of that first spot.
So
For some reason, this person who had the first spot was parked in the handicap spot for days. I
But
don't know
what was
why.
in your, how come you lost the resident that was parking in your spot?
Yes. What about it?
Well, yeah.
That wasn't the,
You said it was another resident in your spot.
no. There was a resident who was in my spot for 6 days.
That's what I'm
same
talking
place.
about.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So
was
that's
one.
that's the issue that
That's one issue.
okay.
The second issue is the spot next to me was empty because the person who parks in the left of me was parked in a handicap spot. Her spot was wide open.
Okay.
And
So
somebody was really pissed, excuse me, and they saw me. I said, hey, you can't park there. I didn't realize that was her.
put the mic.
I didn't realize that it was the person's who was in the handicap was the one that was next. I mean, I knew that it was her car. So when somebody tried to pull into her vacant spot, I said, you really can't pull in. That's a resident spot. The problem is the signage on the spots is terrible. It's gone. You cannot see
Yep.
that it's a building and that they're numbered.
Yeah.
They must do that. I mean, I've been told for 3 years, oh yeah, we're going to redo the numbers. It's time to redo the numbers.
Yep.
Because residents who have automobiles know you're assigned a spot, and if you can't park there for whatever reason, that's understandable too. But you don't go into somebody's assigned spot when you have an assigned spot that's maybe further too bad.
Okay, we get the point. So what we're talking about is residents not parking in their assigned spots. Yes, and using the handicap spot long term. 6 days is long term for me, and that's not right either. And it does matter about making sure that the numbering of the reserved spots are clear, without a doubt. I would make one point about this. The person who is next to you, who parked in handicap, knows their spot.
Or does.
Doesn't matter a number there or not. They know that. The person in your spot knows that's not theirs. So what we're also talking about is resident courtesy. And we don't always see that. Well, there are some ways to enforce rules, Sally. No. I disagree with you on that, and I'll tell you why. If that was escalated to me, and I knew about the 6 days, and we had identified the resident that was misusing your spot, I would, without a doubt, sit down privately with the resident to have a discussion to ensure it doesn't happen again. And Sally, let me finish. And then I would also know that if it happened again, then we need to have next steps. Why do rude people come to the dining rooms? You tell me. That's another issue. Why are people rude to take somebody else's parking spot? Why are residents rude to our waitstaff? Why do residents not follow the rules with their dogs? It is disrespectful to everyone in this community. And what I will say to you, Sally, is when I am aware, because we've had big discussions about the dining room, it's 3 strikes, you're out. And I have, and it's been a while, it's been before COVID, where I have sat down with a resident and explained consequences and banned them from being in the dining room for several weeks. But information gets escalated up. So to your point, we don't see, and we can do more of making sure we have good follow-up. Because what happened? That's so rude. It's rude and disrespectful. But that's coming from our residents. That's our residents' behavior.
I've also had and chased down when they moved from my spot.
Yes.
It's not the first time that it's happened.
Okay, but again, we need to know. And the other thing is, and it may not be 100%, a number of weeks ago, you may or may not have noticed because of where you're coming in, there is very clear signage for private duty aides to make sure they're parking in the correct places. No, you may see it. It is literally front and center at the gatehouse. That pulling up, you can't miss it. And what I will say to you, since they have done that and have conversations with the private duty aides, it's made a difference. Now, the challenge for all of us is the repetition, because we know, like anything else, people can do it for a while, and then it changes. One of the things that will be happening, and I know you want to speak, I don't want to go too much longer, and it's something I just had a discussion about. Prior to COVID, we had a packet of information for a residents who already have private duty aides most likely have filled this out. But it is a packet of information about behavior, responsibilities. These are for non-ACTS private duty aides, and we have many here. And one of the things that's on my list to do, and I'm working with Sheldon on this also, our Director of Nursing on Willowbrook Court, is to make sure those packets are getting to people that are new, that specifically addresses parking, dress, identification, behavior, no cell phone usage, because we're not horrible, but we want to be better. And we can. So again, like a lot of things, we're getting back to things that we had done before and re-emphasizing them. So we minimize some of the things we're seeing. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, I have a parking question too. I park under a tree, and the sap from the tree
Oh, goodness.
gets on my car,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get off. And
Yep.
I get my car washed, and the next day it's nasty
I
again.
bet.
I would like to see if that tree can be cut down. Not cut down, but the leaves, trimmed, so it doesn't hang over my spot.
We need to do like an arch.
Well, no, they could cut off one branch or there is a way it
Yeah,
can be
I'm
done.
just joking. I'm
But,
sorry.
Or I would like another parking spot. I like mine. It's close enough. I'm sort of handicapped. And I don't have to walk too far, but it
Mhm.
really, and the one next to me too is my friend, and she gets the same sap,
Yeah.
and it's nasty.
I can only
really
imagine when
is.
you're under a tree.
So who do I talk to get that tree trimmed? I'm relatively new here. My name is Larita.
Larita, thank
and,
you.
And and many times if I have a lot of packages, I have a handicap license, and I park in the handicap spot
Mhm.
because if I have a lot of packages and can't carry them, I assume that's what it's for.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
It is. It's for short
I
term.
try
to
not
do
to.
things.
I try not to do it, but sometimes I leave it overnight because I can't get back out in time. But
Sure.
if that tree could be trimmed, it's 55 is the number of my parking spot. Hey,
Okay. We can. I will have it looked at, but I would also put in a request for a different parking spot.
well,
And I'll-
I'm afraid it'll be farther away, and I don't.
Well, it may be, and that's a reality, but at least you'll know what options you have because, yeah, choice. Because here's going to be the problem, and we all know it. It is to remove a tree here. We would have a war on our hands.
Well, I don't think it has to be removed, just trimmed.
I understand that. And we can look into trimming. The reality is, as the tree grows and as with the branches out, we can do better with it, but there will be, I just am being upfront, there'll continue to be problems with the sap. And that's unfortunate. And I totally get it. None of us would want us in the cars. It's like you trade shade for sap. What a choice to make. So we can do our best, but I'm just really being honest to let you know, even if we trim, it's still coming down from the top.
Yeah, but that branch goes right over my car. If
Yes.
that branch is trimmed, it would be helpful.
Well, I'm saying we can do that, but what I'm also saying is there's the reality of doing that. However, even if you've got a large tree there will still be challenges, even with the removal of the branch. But we'll start with that.
Yeah, I don't understand what you're saying, but I have to. I'm sure you know what you're talking about, but it's the. Well, it doesn't all the time.
It's hard to
It's
do.
hard. Terrible.
Yeah.
And essentially, it will ruin my car.
So we
Ruin
will
the paint.
we'll get to that branch, and I again suggest putting your name on a list and seeing those closed parking spots. They are gems
Well,
and
who,
hard
who
to
do
get.
I go to for that?
So you would go to Susan is the one handing. Susan L at the front desk handles the parking. So I will follow up, and I know we have Marty here. We're going to put in a work order for that branch to be clipped.
Okay, I would appreciate that. very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Give us, we've got to work with the landscapers coming in, so it may take a week or two for us to get to it.
Well, but I have to pay for that.
Okay, but again, we're, so, but, okay, but we're talking about options. And so, thank you, Barnabas. So, between Sally saying it gives you a choice, a tree with sap, not fun, covered parking, some people have problems, other people don't with the blowing, or waiting to see.
I have two problems with the covered parking. One, it's farther away for me to walk, and two, it's $30 a month, 40, which I don't care to spend any more money. It's costing me enough to live here.
Okay, so then we'll do the best with the SAP, and that will be the trade-off. And then, balance in the cost of washing your car and the cost of that. And you just need to decide what's best for you. We're just letting you know the options to
Thank you.
follow.
That's all.
Yeah, thank you.
Done.
I have several things. First of all, with the landscaping, when I was on the committee, and we had that problem with other things, and Pat, closer,
Yeah, perfect.
Pat, who is Complete Property, said to me, if we trim too much off the tree, too many branches, that makes the tree heavier on one side. If we have one good hurricane, the whole tree could come down if it's a strong enough wind.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is the notebook you were referring to with all the different, things that, like dog walking, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem because I remember when I came here, that was over 10 years ago. I got that notebook, I read it. But if you say it to other people, I'm not going to bother to read that. Yet all the instructions are there that you were referring to.
Yeah.
So how do you get them to read?
Well, that's what I would ask you. How do we? Everybody is here, gets that notebook. How do we get people to read?
I think I used to give the orientation here, and now I'm doing it for OBT.
Yes.
And we cover such things as the storage locker and where you're going to have it, the rules for voting and changing your address because they won't forward ballots. And there's things like the IRS. There's people in independent living that don't know after several years they can get their sheets washed once a week. They don't know it because nobody has ever told them, and they haven't read. And they haven't read it.
Yes. Right.
Don't read.
But Sally, who takes responsibility? And I would say we all do, and including the resident. And I would also say that we will always have people who don't know, but the information is provided. And for those people, when you have it in the newsletter, when you have it in a booklet that you're given, and we're getting better and better with bringing new residents in. And again, volunteers. We need resident volunteers to help us with new residents coming in, because through discussion, things are going to come up like that. But this is collective. And one meeting, one booklet, there's so much complexity to living here. And that's how we help one another.
Right. People don't read the dog rules.
But okay, but here's the thing. And this comes back to a resident volunteer. So when I was still living in Northern Virginia, and that I lived there for, my goodness, close to 30 years and raised my family there and worked in a community like this, a continuing care retirement community. And we had, because if you think the number of dogs we have, it's a small number, right? If you think of the upset that one dog can have anywhere, it's a big deal. Okay, it's a big deal. But we had a resident-driven group who knew the importance of being a dog owner. And they wanted to make sure that any resident moving in with a dog was greeted, or a cat. I don't know what people did about birds, but with a dog particularly, where they would go knock on their door, introduce themselves, review what the rules are, keep in touch with them. When there was a resident who wasn't managing their dog properly, and it wasn't, some people as they get older aren't able to take care of their dog as much, and that falls into another category. But even if they have a private duty aide walking the dog, the rules have to be followed. And this group of residents were really proud to be dog owners. And they wanted to make sure that all the other residents weren't upset that there were dogs there because they knew that they were behaving and following the rules. And they took charge of working with the handful of dogs. And there weren't problems. And when there was, they were the first group I went to and would say, Mrs. Brown, we have a resident, we know that this is happening. And she would say, I'll absolutely knock on her door and talk. And it was done in a very nice, respectful way. But this is where we support one another. If you think of all the rules and all the different things that go on, I'm a strong believer, and we talk about this, it takes a village. And if you have 10 directors and you have 400 residents, that means we work together with the 400 residents to help us with the education of the new people. We help us each other by the enrichments of sharing gifts. And when there are more difficult issues, then it comes up. Because I'm the principal, I call you into my office. It's done politely and respectfully, but that happens. So again, that's what I'm encouraging. The responsibility for all these things falls to all of us because there's so much to learn. We all know that. There's so much to learn. We do that. So we've done a very good job, and big compliments to Ellen. We lost our way on so many things during COVID, and orienting new residents was really challenging and difficult for the new residents moving in because they didn't have as much orientation. Right, they had the book, but like we said, so we have, and Alyssa was doing it before she left, Ellen's kind of revamped the program. They meet with every single director, one after another, to get educated. They have an opportunity for questions. But here's the thing. So we do that. We're really struggling with getting resident volunteers because we know it takes multiple times and multiple ways to help new residents understand who we are. Okay. Okay. They don't want to know until they need it. Go ahead, Russ. So every year it gets updated and handed out to you. Ours came a little bit late this year because of the printing company we were working with. So there is a booklet that we put out. Yeah. Yes. It comes out yearly. That's what it includes, Sally. It includes everything. Everything. It does. Every year it gets put in everybody's cubby. No, it's not. So let me clarify. So in regard to charges, and ancillary charges, we have a responsibility to post them in a time frame that we're required to. So that does go out, without a doubt. And we usually do it once a year because we don't make changes very often. And we don't want to. Sally, a lot of things in that book, the prices don't change. And what I would say to you, if you were in your own home and had to have somebody come out to look at your air conditioner they would charge you at a minimum $120 to walk in your door, and that does not include any work that you do. Okay, do you know the difference of the cost of food, Sally? So we have to maintain that. They do change, and it has to do with what the expenses are. But there are a lot of services that have stayed enormously reasonable. Enormously reasonable. Okay, but that's my point. It's out there, and we show that. And again, we put out every year a book. And in that book, it has names, phone numbers, board members. It has every department and gives a paragraph or two with a description of what they do and services that we provide. It is pages long. Okay, go to the front desk and I'll get it for you. I'm not talking about the directory with the phone book. That's something we update as well, and we changed the model of the directory so that we now include email addresses because residents were asking for that. But I'll show you the book, and that book gets passed out to all the directors to review. So if there are any changes, we make them at that time. Marty does a marvelous job of making sure that we do review it every single year. She monitors all of us to ensure she's getting their updates back. After that's done, we do another review. And we look to make sure, as best we can, that we've captured all the information, that it's written in the best way, that we don't have misspellings, and it is given to you. So I will make sure that we've got booklets handed left over so that if you would like one, it's there. Yes.
Getting back to the dogs, I'm not a dog owner, but there's lots of land here, and you have gardens for people that want a garden. Why couldn't you have a little fenced-in area, a doggy area, where people could let their dogs play with other dogs? Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some place here where you could do that.
We could if it was asked for and there was a demand for it. And so far,
I don't think anybody's thought about it because
I think, it has come up. Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Well, but it's better.
People to clean up after their dogs when they're walking them, and they don't do it.
Well, that's what I mean. It's better to have it in one place than
It
to
has
have
to.
doggy do. I've had.
Okay. Let's go on because if there was a demand for it, we would absolutely look for a spot. It has to be a spot where, in addition to the issues that are bringing up, if you don't clean up your dog there, because you know who's cleaning it up? The staff. We don't want to. It's your dog. Take responsibility. We have to make sure you have a place to sit, and we have to have access to water. And if there's not a demand for it, and residents do not want it, then there isn't a reason to provide it. So good behavior is good behavior. Go ahead, Roz. We just have a couple of minutes, so I want to make sure. Okay. No, but I don't need to be. That's resident driven. That's a good example of something resident driven. Okay. Mm-hmm. Unlikely. Because, one, space. Two, B has one. Yeah, we have a big space here. We have there. There are multiple rooms and places to play cards, and some people still do it in their apartment. So there is no common space. It's an apartment that we can't sell that would be converted, and it's not something we want to do. What we did decide for the C building, because we have so many options for the card players, is we did take an apartment and we started the process, and we have to go back to it because we didn't do the job good enough. Yes. Yes. It is being used. And what needs to happen in there is that if you looked at the B card room and you compared it to what the art studio is, there's absolutely no comparison of the beauty of the B card room versus the art studio. And we have more and more people moving in with art as an interest. So one of our plans that we do need to do is to revisit that and put it in better shape, because obviously things that need to be user friendly to increase people's use, but it is used. They do it themselves. It's self-driven. Are you an artist? But again, okay, so it's in the journal. Here's the thing, and this is why I say we help one another. It goes back to the fact that there is so much that's here to learn. Ellen is telling us it's in the journal, Ross. Okay.
What happens if we take for every activity, for every event, and we put it on paper and we stuff it in your mailbox? Then the complaint's going to be, you guys are spamming us. So the question is it beneficial for all, or is it not, right? Because we could come here and bring up 1,000 issues right now. We could bring up 1,000 issues. Why is the roof yellow? Why is there a spot on the roof? The question is, how is it really affecting us? I get the art problem, right? We want people to know. But is it making us a better community by bringing or dealing with that issue when there's so many other more important issues, pressing issues that we have to adjust one by one, right? I've seen Robin work, and she does everything by precedence, the things that need to be done right now. She have 1,000 things on her plate. So it's like, just say we add another art studio problem, right? We say we want to be notified. There's 100 other pressing issues that she's working through. So the best thing for this meeting is bringing those things that we really want to give attention to, like what really need our attention. And these things are important. Don't get me wrong. That is very much so important. But there's only so much that she can do to help us collectively, so we could bring the most important issue so that we could go ahead and see progress happening now. So let's try to do that and help her as well to help us. If we bombard her with 1,000 things, there's only so much. There's like, picture this. If you come to me right now and say, Barnabas, Chaplain Barn, I want you to do this. I want 5 services. I want this. And at some point, okay. And this is what happens. A person just stands still. So let's bring issues. Let's help her, help us collectively as a community. And I think we'll move a lot further and see a lot of change and progress.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Yeah,
I
and
would
I'll
like
wrap
to,
up after that.
I would like to compliment the waiters and the waitresses.
Yes.
They are so well trained. They are so nice. And
Yes.
I've seen people treat them so badly.
I know.
And I would like to say how much we appreciate the people. They know our names quickly. They know what we like, that I like tea. And I think that a compliment to whoever's training them and to them. And they are such nice kids, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it should be thankful. We should thank them in some public way. I know we have the server of the week and or the month, and that's wonderful. But they are so good, and some of them are so young.
Yes.
And we sit around afterwards, and I know they want to go home, and they never say a word. We'll say, "Oh, we know you want." "Oh no, it's fine. We're fine. We can take care of it." So I would like to see something published to say. I know, as I said, I know we.
Well, and I think
I never thought about it. But they are wonderful.
Yes, and so that's a good point. And I'll wrap up. I know Ellen wants to say something about this because it's very important, and then I'll have one last comment. Go ahead.
Okay. Every year, from the residents only, at the end of the year, we have an employee appreciation fund, and the resident board asks for a certain amount to be to be a check written out. I forget how we write out the check.
It's a donation.
But they give they give everybody a certain amount. It's like, I think last year it was $400. I'm not sure. Or you can give as much as you want. But this is only from the residents to it goes to all the employees. Robin's the only one that doesn't get it.
Yeah, it's primarily, that's true. It's primarily for the hourly staff because we don't tip. And so it's a one time of a year. And if you think you've worked all this time and you get $400, I'm not making fun of it, but think of what they do. No, the board always makes a recommendation, which is wonderful, to give some guidelines. But that's part that's important. But you know what? And this is where we work together. So your suggestion, write a letter, and you said, I hadn't thought about that, right? This is where we share we work collectively. We work as a team. We come up with much better ideas when we're all working together. And to Barnabas' point, it's hard for me today. I'm sorry. It's not one person doing this. It's all of us together, because that's an awesome idea. And guess what? When that letter gets written, if you decide to do that, or anyone in the community, it will be read to the staff prior to dinner. And you know the impact that will have? Because you gave beautiful compliments and recognition. It's going to lift them up. And that's what we want to do, lift people up. And on the last note, I want to go back to, and the example, whether it's the dog walkers or the art studio, it's not one person's job. It's all of our jobs. And it does go into the journal in multiple places. But this comes back to sharing our gifts. So whether it is a resident who's passionate about art and wants to have an art club and has, it's like the workshop. You know how we use the workshop. But that's because of residents. The workshop started with and are run by residents. It is so awesome. And the same can be said, and that's what we really want to foster. Yeah. So I want to just say, I love it. So as we wrap up, that's how we foster so many wonderful things. That's how we educate. That's how we let residents know what's here. So I want to thank everybody. This was a really good meeting, and I appreciate all the thoughts and comments. So we all have a lot to think about of how we can contribute.
So I want to say that we are a family. I mean, it's very important that you guys understand the concept of community. Community isn't just having things your way, but community it takes a group of people. I was once told as a kid, it takes a village, right, to raise a child, but I think it takes a village to make a village better. And when we all just get together and we brainstorm and we step in the gaps, when we see a problem, we say, you know what, I'm not going to complain about it, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to be the change that I want to see. I'm going to be the answer that I want to see. And once you do that, can you envision if everyone was to step in the gap, how awesome this community can be when we decide to do that? So I just want to encourage you guys today. I want to emphasize what she said, but we are better together. And we need to really just encourage our brothers next to us and our sisters next to us just to stand together and fix the problems that we see. That's it.
We can do much more than that, Salary, much more than we're doing. So I want to thank you all so much. And it was a very good meeting. Thank you so much.